absolute faith. As the events unfolded, the situation took a grim turn. Taeyog refused his friend's plea to join forces with the foreigners, leading to a fierce clash that continued within the walls of the municipal building. In the midst of the intense battle, Eric kept dodging every punch Taeyog threw, showing no intent to strike back at his friend. Despite the injuries he bore, Eric's speed remained unchanged, allowing him to easily evade Taeyog's sluggish movements. While dodging, Eric persistently tried to reason with and calm Taeyog, who seemed to have lost control. "Please, Alfredo, it's not too late. Just trust me," he pleaded. "Stop it!" Taeyog roared, his voice brimming with rage. Eric refused to give up on convincing his friend, even though he knew Taeyog was determined to kill him. He felt powerless. Unlike Taeyog, Eric had no intention of harming his friend, who had spiraled into chaos. But in an instant, Taeyog's long arm struck Eric, sending him crashing into the wall of one of the rooms. He crumpled to the floor, and as he sensed another attack coming, he scrambled to his feet to avoid the massive fist hurtling toward him. Though he managed to dodge, he still stumbled and fell, his knees buckling from the earlier assault. "Go ahead, Eric, build the new nation you speak of, a peaceful town for everyone, if you truly believe that's what's best," Taeyog said bitterly. "But before you can achieve that, you'll have to kill me. Stop me from annihilating them all." Eric rose again, gasping for breath, exhaustion weighing heavily on him. His energy was nearly depleted compared to Taeyog, who kept drawing power from the cores of the Cyclaean members. Eric's strength was slowly draining as he shielded himself with what little he had left. "You're wrong. I'm not here to kill you. I came here, bearing the power of the deity, to stop you and save you from your sins," Eric shouted, his voice filled with conviction. "Save me? TSK. Before you save me, try saving yourself first," Taeyog retorted, launching another attack. In that moment, Eric raised the fans he held and opened them. He had no idea how they could help, but he hoped they would unleash the extraordinary ability he was supposed to possess as a chosen one. Closing his eyes, he focused on sensing his own energy, willing it to aid him. "Please, help me," he cried out. But just like before, no power emerged. Instead, Taeyog's punch landed again, sending Eric crashing to the ground. The power bestowed upon him by Ada Sid Alwa, which he thought would save him, kept failing him. Before he could rise, Taeyog leaped from where he stood and mercilessly stomped on him. "Ah!" Eric screamed as his body sank deeper into the shattered stones beneath him under the weight of Taeyog's foot. He couldn't move as Taeyog continued to crush him, the immense weight, nearly 100 kilos, pressing down relentlessly. Taeyog pinned him to the ground, intent on breaking him completely. "A true hero is ready to die for their beliefs, so you should die now, little hero," Taeyog bellowed, pressing harder. Eric's bones creaked and snapped under the pressure, his cries echoing with agony. "Please, Alfredo, this isn't the way to seek justice. You're no longer being rational," Eric pleaded, even as the crushing weight bore down on him. Taeyog's anger flared at Eric's words. Instead of relenting, he pressed down even harder, determined to crush him into the ground with his massive foot. "Who are you to say what's right or wrong in seeking retribution for sins? It's not a crime to pursue justice, it's a right," Taeyog shouted. Eric knew there was nothing more he could say to change his friend's mind, and he no longer knew what else he could do for Alfredo. His faith in himself as a savior, and in his friend's capacity to change, was dwindling. His strength slowly faded, his body giving in, until his eyes began to close. "I can't do this anymore. I can't save him. Maybe I can't save anyone. Not even one," he thought, despair taking over. He felt utterly drained, unable to feel his hands due to the overwhelming weakness. "In the end, everything I've done is pointless. No one believes in me. Maybe I should just give up and let it all go. He added silently. His hands, which had been gripping Taeyog's foot in a desperate attempt to resist, went limp and fell to the ground. Yet even as Eric let go, Taeyog didn't stop. He kept pressing down, intent on ensuring Eric's last breath. "I'm done," Eric whispered in his mind. As he surrendered, images of the people closest to him flashed through his thoughts. He silently bid them farewell, apologizing for giving up on his fight for life. At that moment, Eric lost consciousness and found himself in a dark, endless void where he floated aimlessly. His mind couldn't discern whether this was a dream or the place where the dead go, but all he knew was that he must have died in that moment. While he drifted in this state of surrender, a voice suddenly pierced the silence. "Stand up. You can't give up," shouted a young girl. The voice echoed repeatedly in Eric's ears as he remained unconscious. It reached him even in this dark, dreamlike place where he floated, his eyes lifeless. He didn't know who it belonged to or where it came from, but he felt deep within that someone was calling for his help, someone who needed him as their hero. The cry came from a small child, one of the people inside the municipal building. She stood bravely beside a mysterious woman who had been with Eric at the camp. The woman now sat next to the child, whispering something to her. "You can't give up. You said you'd save us, so you can't just surrender," the girl shouted. Though Eric could hear her plea and wanted to respond, it felt impossible. He could barely move his body, and even opening his eyes seemed like an insurmountable task in his current state. Taeyog, unable to see the mysterious woman, was baffled by how a mere 6-year-old girl could stand before him without a trace of fear. "Hey, kid. Do you really think someone will save you? Even God can't save you from your destined death," he taunted. "You're wrong. He won't abandon us, he'll save us," the girl shouted back at Taeyog. Her defiance irritated Taeyog even more. He raised his right arm, ready to strike the child and silence her cries. Taeyog was no longer thinking clearly amidst the chaos, uncaring of who he harmed, even an innocent child. "Die!" he roared. But just as he moved to attack, Eric let out a piercing cry that halted Taeyog's action. "Stop it, Taeyog!" Eric shouted with sudden force. To Taeyog's shock, Eric grabbed his massive foot and began to lift it, inch by inch. He couldn't believe Eric still had the strength to fight back after lying motionless moments ago. Eric's body was drained of energy, his presence barely detectable, yet Taeyog was stunned and bewildered by his friend's actions. With sheer physical strength, Eric continued to lift Taeyog's foot. "Impossible, how? He has no energy left, so how is he managing to hold me back? It can't be just his physical strength," Taeyog thought, incredulous. In Eric's vision, he was surrounded by a blue energy, aura that gave him the strength to lift Taeyog's massive foot. Even he was puzzled by its source, but he knew he had no time to question it. "What's happening to my body? It feels so warm, as if it's awakening my flesh and blood. I feel something extraordinary giving me strength. Yes. I don't know what this is, but with this, I can save them," he whispered to himself. "Yah!" Eric shouted with newfound vigor. "Please, save us!" the little girl cried out. As she shouted, Eric slowly rose from the ground. The blue aura around him intensified, flowing into his body and granting him additional strength. He planted his feet firmly, summoning the force to push back against Taeyog's colossal foot. "What kind of being are you? Why won't you just give up and die?" Taeyog yelled in frustration. Taeyog refused to be overpowered and pressed down harder, trying to force Eric back into the ground. "That won't happen. I promised, my deity, that I wouldn't die here," Eric stammered, struggling to speak. "As long as there are people who need my help, I can't die. I will be their light." Eric stood resolute, resisting the crushing force, but Taeog's overwhelming energy began to dominate once more. Sharp blades flew through the air, piercing Eric's body to siphon more energy, amplifying Taeog's power. Foolish Eric. Why can't you accept that this nation won't change with sweet words and kind deeds? What this country needs is destruction, a purge of the devils living here. And to make it clear that I'm serious, I'll start with that child. Taeog declared. He turned his gaze to the little girl standing before them, now trembling in fear. Eric knew Taeog had sinister intentions toward the child, but despite his desire to act and stop him, he couldn't move fast enough. The girl, overcome with fear, took a step back. Yet, because of her trust in Eric as her hero, she stopped retreating, stood her ground, and shouted bravely. "No, I'm not afraid of you. I believe my hero will save me. I have faith in the hero of Ifugao." Her voice echoed through the entire building as she squeezed her eyes shut. Taeog's fury deepened at the words of the young Spanish girl, especially since she sought help from a Filipino, a people they had oppressed. "Tch, you're disgusting. After trampling on our dignity, you dare ask for a Filipino's help and call him your hero? I'll end you, you little demon." Taeog roared. Without hesitation, Taeog prepared to strike, his extending arm ready to attack the child. But before his arm could fully stretch, a sudden presence stopped him in his tracks. A fiery blue energy, like a blazing flame, erupted from the ground where Eric lay beneath his foot. "What is this presence?" Taeog muttered. The child clasped her hands in prayer, eyes shut tight, and cried out again. "Please, save us, Ifugao. Don't worry, I'll save you." Eric shouted, finally pushing Taeog's foot off with a triumphant shove. Taeog, despite his massive weight of nearly 300 kilos, was sent flying, skidding out of the building. Everyone was stunned by the sudden turn of events, even Eric himself was in awe of the blue energy enveloping his body. He traced the faint trails of energy around him, like threads connecting him to their source. That's when he saw her, the little girl who had called for his help. She was the origin of the blue energy now flowing into his body. He had no idea what was happening or why this child possessed such energy, despite appearing like an ordinary girl. Then he noticed the mysterious woman beside her, smiling at him. Eric thought she might have helped him again, but he quickly realized she seemed as calm as ever. There was no trace of fear in her expression, as if she were unbothered by the chaos around them, even as everyone else was in danger. She casually sucked on a lollipop given to her by the child and greeted Eric with a serene demeanor. "What's happening?" Eric asked, bewildered. "That's the mighty faith, the power of the deity Ada Sidalwa." The woman explained. "The power of the Ifugao deity isn't meant for fighting for your own sake, it's for protection." She added. "This deity's special trait is to draw strength and energy from those who believe in you. That's why you gained this additional power from the child. As long as there are people who trust you and recognize you as their savior, they'll provide you with the positive energy of faith. And as long as you have someone to protect, you can harness that energy." She continued. Eric looked at his hands, feeling a soothing relief in his broken bones. To his astonishment, his injuries had healed instantly. But moments later, the energy from the child suddenly stopped, cutting off the flow of blue aura to Eric. The woman explained that there was a limit to how much energy he could draw, it could only last for a minute. The positive energy from the child's faith was just enough to let him push Taeog away. "To be honest, as long as he can draw energy from those daggers, you won't be able to defeat him in this fight," she warned. She gave him another piece of advice: if he could convince the people around him to see him as their hero, he might harness enough faith energy to finally overcome Taeog in battle. Her words reignited Eric's courage and gave him a renewed sense of hope to keep fighting. Yet, doubt crept in. Before that could happen, he needed to figure out how to fulfill the conditions of the mighty faith, especially since the people inside the building were mostly Spanish, who clearly distrusted Filipinos like him. "You're still fortunate, young messenger. Do your best, this might be your last chance to save your friend," the woman said. Taeyog rose from where he had fallen, his body once again radiating with aura. He noticed that only a few daggers remained around him to draw energy from, so he knew he had to hurry and end the fight to fulfill his rebellion. "I don't know how you did that, but I guess you really are special, my little friend. It's a shame you have to die," Taeyog said coldly. Eric stepped forward with unwavering resolve, raising his hands as if to block Taeyog. He reaffirmed his determination to be a hero for everyone and protect the people inside the building. Taeyog, unmoved by Eric's words, advanced toward him, challenging him to prove he could save anyone in his weakened state. Eric suddenly turned to the crowd behind him, his back to Taeyog as the latter approached. "To everyone here, I ask you now, are you ready to die? I want to know if there's still a reason for me to fight for you, to protect you from him," he shouted. The room fell silent. The people couldn't respond, their lack of trust in Eric evident. To them, he seemed powerless compared to the monstrous Taeyog. "If you want to live, if you want to survive, then trust me. Let me save you as your hero. So I ask you now, will you put your faith in me?" The crowd didn't know how to react to Eric's plea. They knew he was a Filipino, but from what they'd heard, he wasn't an enemy of Spain. His only goal was to protect them. Amid the silence, Taeyog interjected, mocking Eric. "What you're doing is pointless. Even if they trust you, it won't change their fate, they'll still die." Eric turned to face him, head bowed, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Say what you want, but I won't let that happen." He raised his head, his eyes burning with determination and courage, ready to stand by his beliefs until the very end. Taeyog paused in his tracks, seeing the unwavering resolve in Eric's eyes. It only fueled his irritation toward his friend. He knew Eric was serious about saving him, but he couldn't accept it. It went against everything he was fighting for, and he was desperate to see his plans come to fruition. Taeyog didn't expect Eric to understand him, so he saw no other way to end this but through his friend's death. "Enough of this!" Taeyog shouted. "I don't need anyone to save me." He charged forward, raising his fist to strike. In that moment, as Taeyog attacked, Eric raised the fan in his hand. As he lifted it, the fan began to glow and transformed into a sword, a red blade with a blue barrel attached to it, adorned with the design of a sun and 3 glowing stars along its side. "Yaha!" Eric cried out. A surge of blue energy enveloped Eric, flowing into his body. The energy emanated from behind him, and if one traced its lines, they led to the people with closed eyes, praying for his victory. They whispered words of hope, trusting that their hero would save them from the monster Taeyog. "I can feel their strength. This overflowing energy from those who believe in me, it feels so light, like I can do anything," he thought. He opened his eyes and smiled, warmed by the positivity he felt. "I won't let your faith in me down. I'll save you, no matter what." In that moment, he leaped forward, meeting Taeyog's attack head-on. With all his might, he swung the sword down against the incoming fist. Faith slash! A destructive wave of energy burst from the sword, obliterating everything in its path. The area was engulfed in light, and a powerful force sent both of them reeling from the clash. The impact was so strong that it sent the onlookers flying, the explosion echoing like a massive grenade that devastated the surroundings. Even Eric was stunned by what he had unleashed, still clutching the sword in awe. He examined the weapon, the barrel, the blade, every detail. "This power, it's incredible," he marveled. As the smoke from the explosion cleared, the destruction around them became visible. Fortunately, the rooms behind him, where the people were hiding, sustained minimal damage. Eric had no idea what had happened to his friend after the attack. As he scanned the area, a sudden realization hit him. He feared the destructive light from the sword might have harmed Taeyog. Panicking at the thought of having gravely injured his friend, Eric rushed outside the building. He followed the trench carved by his attack, a 4-foot-deep scar stretching from inside the building to the outside. There, he saw fragments of Taeyog's giant body scattered like broken firewood. A few meters away, a man knelt amidst the splintered pieces. In the center, Eric spotted Taeyog, gasping for breath, clutching his shoulder with his left hand. Eric froze, swallowing hard, shocked by the pitiful state of his friend after the attack. Taeyog's body was covered in blood from countless wounds, his right arm completely gone, melted away by Eric's strike. Eric couldn't believe the extent of the damage his attack had caused. He stood there, stunned, realizing he had nearly killed the very person he was meant to save. Alfredo? This can't be. End of chapter.